and more so because schools are reopening here in South Africa tomorrow. The results of an investigation launched in 2017 by the Competition Commission about the high prices of school uniform will be released soon. The Competition Commission is investigating a number of schools, school uniform manufacturers and suppliers for anti-competitive behavior. According to the Commission, this anti-competitive behavior leads to inflated uniform prices and also marginalizes new school suppliers from the industry due to exclusivity. But joining us now to take this discussion further is Sipho Ngwema. He's the head of communications at the Competition Commission, and he joins us live from our studios in Pretoria. Dr. Ngwema, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Good morning, women. Thanks for having me on your program.
Thank you so much indeed. Now, take us back or remind us a little as to how this investigation came about.
Around 2015, in fact, we received a number of complaints from parents complaining that they were being coerced to buy from one supplier and they were experiencing very high prices. And we then interacted and engaged the Department of Basic Education and all the provincial departments, governing bodies, and as well as the school principals, trying to bring to their attention the provisions of the Competition Act in terms of competitive bidding and tendering. After that, we had thought that the problem would be sorted, but unfortunately, at the beginning or late in 2016, we continued to receive complaints, and at the beginning of 2017, we launched an official investigation because the complaints were still coming, that there were a number of schools that were still involved in this anti-competitive behavior, forcing parents to buy from pre-selected suppliers, and also new and potential suppliers were not allowed into the sector because you had these exclusive contracts that had long durations, and therefore small or other school manufacturers or suppliers were not given an opportunity to compete. So the commissioner launched an investigation of all schools and all school uniform manufacturers to investigate the anti-competitive behavior as reported by the parents.
Yeah, and as you say that this behavior has been going on for quite some time now, why has it gone for so long, or rather unnoticed for so long? Because it was also reported that the Commission itself found that former Model C schools and private schools have those exclusive arrangements with single uniform suppliers, and that dates back to 1974. But why has it gone on for so long?
We did pick up, as I said, in 2015, when we received a number of these complaints, and we involved in advocacy, engaged schools and engaged departments, and the department issued a circular which basically was laying down the regulation and the rules in terms of how schools should conduct school uniform purchasing, basically encouraging schools or telling schools that uniform must be generic, but also there must be a fair and a competitive bidding process. Subsequent to that process, the contracts that would come out of that must be of a limited duration. As I said, we still continue to receive that because we didn't want just to come down on the schools and on the governing bodies, on the manufacturers, without having engaged them first. And we discovered, as I said, that they were continuing, they were ignoring the prescripts of that circular. This is about 30% of the schools, and more Model C schools, about 53%, and 87% of private schools had these exclusive contracts. We discovered that through a survey that we conducted concurrently with the investigation because we wanted to understand how deep was the problem. And we discovered that it was indeed widespread, and therefore that helped shape our investigation, which now has reached a very advanced stage, and we are likely to make an announcement in the next couple of weeks. So we had to make sure that before we do everything, before we look at the remedies in terms of the law, before we look at what the law allows us to do, we engage the schools, we talk to them, but unfortunately very many didn't listen. But I must say though, Subsequent to our investigation, we are making great progress.
Yeah, but I think what is more worrying, Tate Ngwema, is the survey that was conducted by the Commission that also found that many schools in the country are not even aware of the Department of Basic Education's guidelines for uniforms that was issued back in 2015. Talk to us about that.
Yes, indeed. A number of schools claim that they didn't get the circular, and therefore it follows that they would not necessarily have followed the prescripts of that circular. We are engaging with the department. Of course, the department has assured us that this was widely distributed and it has gone to the schools. We are now involved in a process where we'll be talking to the department, talking to all the stakeholders in terms of the remedies that we are going to be looking at once we have closed the investigations in terms of the way forward. So as I said to you, we are making great progress, but we will make sure that everybody complies with the law and we take appropriate action in terms of the areas where we need to, as prescribed by the Act.
All right. So you say the results are expected to be released in a few weeks' time, and the investigations started about around this time last year already. One would have thought that when the new academic year starts, things would have been completed. Why has it taken so long?
Yes, indeed. That was our wish at the beginning. But at the end of the day, you need to be thorough in terms of your investigation. If you rush it, you will make mistakes. And we are where we are now, which is at least we know that a month after schools have reopened, there will certainly be a closure of the investigation and we'll make announcement. Rushing something and you discovered later that there are loopholes that are there in terms of what you have done, you will regret for the rest of your life. However, we had to make sure that whatever we do with those pressures, but we had to do a thorough job and make sure that once we make the announcement, once we announce the remedies that we are going to be putting forth, we are happy that this habit or this misconduct is going to stop once and for all.
All right. I suppose we wait and see what comes out of that report in Tate Ngwema. Thank you so much for coming through. Well, that's Sipho Ngwema. He is the head of communications at the Competition Commission, talking to us about the investigation into the price of school uniform. Let's take a quick ad break here on Morning Live. Do remember that we're giving you the full coverage of the funeral service of the late Professor Khositsile.
Underarms. You don't usually think about them. You protect them from sweat and odor, but that's not enough. What they need is something that takes care of them, so they feel good whatever you put them through. Introducing new Dove Antiperspirant. It goes beyond 48-hour protection, giving you long-lasting dryness and soft, smooth underarms. The best care for underarm skin from Dove.
Do you have a funeral policy?
Making someone's dreams come true is not always as simple as saying yes. But Avbob's Cashback Funeral Plan not only provides